Patlabor is one of the best anime films ever. It's also one of the most important. It's a franchise that spawned numerous media incarnations since the 80s. A manga comic series, a short OVA series, movie trilogy, animated TV series, and recently live-action movies. The most well-known of these are the two movies, released in 1989 and 91, both directed by Mamoru Oshii, already well-known for works like Ghost in the Shell and Jinro. But Patlabor predates them. While those films are more psychological, Patlabor is political. Never has a mainstream anime present a combination of real-world politics with hard sci-fi. But I'm not going to go too in-depth on the meaning there, as there's already a bunch of videos explaining that. What I want to talk about is something that I don't think is brought up. When the movies were released in Western regions, it was published by Manga Entertainment, aka MangaUK. In the 90s, they produced English dubs for both the first and second movie. However, in 2004, MangaUK was bought by Starz Media, basically seizing all production and putting their English dubs in license limbo. Nowadays, it's pretty easy to find MangaUK dubs, as they're usually in the same format as the original. But Patlabor is a different story. The original two movies ran at 23 frames per second, but MangaUK produced their dubs at 25 frames. This was probably done to make it more playable on VHS, but that's the thing. The dub was only released on VHS. Even the new Blu-rays that were released lacks this dub. These have the new 2003 dub produced by Bandai, which means the only way for you to watch the original manga dub is through VHS quality. Until now. In terms of production, these dubs aren't that great. Far from it. But there is a certain quality that can't really be emulated. It was produced in a time where English dubs weren't really taken as seriously as they are today. Because of that, you get this sort of fluctuation with the acting. Sometimes it's pretty decent, others it's pretty cringy.
What a dumb thing to say!
Not to mention the translation itself can sound a little off. It's like too literal or not enough.
Goes for you as well.
Yeah.
The voices themselves do sound pretty on point to the characters. Nawa is the energetic new girl, so her high-pitched voice fits really well. Asuma's voice really shows off his personality, although at times you can kind of hear his Irish come out.
You can't, Noah. And the only person who could guarantee it is dead.
Most of MangaUK's actors were European, so they had to hide their accent. Although with Gato, they gave him a transatlantic accent.
I'm willing to bet you a month's pay. They'll put it down conveniently to pilot error.
This kind of works in canon, as he's someone who's worked internationally. In fact, it's what the dub adds that makes it really interesting. Take this joke from the first movie.
I don't want to die!
Attention, rogue labor pilot. No one wants to hurt you. Just shut your labor down, and we can discuss your problems calmly, whatever they are.
You idiot! What are you talking about?
What'd you say? Okay, I was gonna go easy on you because you're a taxpayer, but I'm not taking insults!
Originally, he's mad because it's specifically the Section 9 police trying to help. But in the dub, they make it a misconception. They even add that little taxpayer joke to develop Iso's character. It's a simple change, but the joke comes off as a lot funnier. There's also the battle in the beginning of the second movie. Originally, it's scored. But the dub removes this.
Damn you.
It makes it sound a lot more intense. There's also this little moment where the UN commander has a British accent.
Request permission to fire.
Request denied. Canadian reinforcements coming to your assistance. Do not, repeat, not engage.
It's a small scene, but it really helps with the immersion. The only big omission I could find was this scene from the first movie.
辺りは80年代の土地狂乱の頃、地上げで壊滅した町の一部でね、 その後の国土法の制定やら何やらで結局活用されずにいわば宙に浮いてた土地だったんだそうだ。
This is a reference to real-life politics. He's referring to Japan's housing crisis of the late 80s, where Japanese banks gave loans to companies for real estate investment, and it just caused a huge bubble. There's a lot more info to this, and if you want more info, there's a really good documentary in the description. Since this takes place in the future, the prediction was that it would lead to slums and homelessness, but the dub just makes it sound more vague.
It's a strange part of the city. About 20 years ago, they got permission to redevelop it and started demolition. Then the authorities changed their minds and said nothing could be built here. So it was left derelict, in a sort of limbo.
To be fair, the prediction didn't really end up happening due to other circumstances, so I think time was kind of favorable to this dub. But what makes the dub really worth it is a little scene in the second movie, where Arakawa is giving a speech to Goto while he's looking out at the abandoned construction.
You as a policeman, Goto. Me as a self-defense force spook. What is it the two of us are actually trying to protect? It's 50 years since the end of World War II. We've lived our lives never having known war. Violence, yes, but that's recognized as criminal. Never a time when the whole country was dedicated to legal violence.
In the dub, he's voiced by Blaine Fairman. You know, this guy from Aliens? His acting is so seductive.
Political decisions were made that may or may not have sabotaged the whole project. The fact is it didn't work. So finally, we had to get America's permission to share their system. Do you hear a word I'm saying?
He talks about the illusion of peace and Japan's place during the Cold War. Like I said, you would never think to hear this kind of stuff in a mainstream anime, and the MangaUK's acting really sells it. Pair this with the 2003 Bandai dub and you can hear the difference.
Mr. Goto, as police officers, as self-defense force officers, have you ever thought about what it is exactly that we are supposed to be safeguarding? It's been 50 years since the last war.
It's not bad, but it lacks the sort of attitude MangaUK has. In there, they really make him a character. He's a conspiracy theorist that has some charisma. But the Bandai dub tries to make it more literal to the translation and makes him kind of a strong silent type.
Was originally designed to be a closed system in lieu of its nature. But with politics and the Japan-US security treaty and whatnot, as it stands now, it's been linked to the United States bases here in Japan. Are you even listening to me?
I think the energy brought with the manga dub fits the character a bit more. They also take more liberties with the translation, wording it a bit differently and adding more info.
I share your revulsion about just wars. If there ever was such a thing, it was the war against the Nazis. Our allies, Goto, our allies.
That line was not in the original, and it really fits with the question at hand. The whole movie is a comment on Japan's post-war stability, and how it's really hidden behind a sort of false peace. How peace really comes after war, and how you can't really say you're at peace when there are still unstable countries that your own country depends on. In fact, that opening from the second movie is based on a real battle in Cambodia, during the 1991 UN peacekeeping operation. The director, Mamoru Oshii, said that he was afraid that non-Japanese wouldn't really understand the message at play. But because of how good this dub is, it translates really well. You understand exactly what's at hand, and no other anime has been able to compare. In the land of the blind, the man with one eye is king, and Patlabor has that eye wide open. And the MangaUK dub almost perfects it. I guess at the end of the day, it's not really essential. You can't go wrong with the original Japanese, but if you do plan to watch it in dub, I highly recommend it.
And what God cannot do, men will attempt. Unless we stop them. They must be stopped. That is our task.
I provided links to the English dub audio for both movies. These are ripped from the VHS torrent I was able to find. This isn't technically piracy since you can't get it legally anymore, so it should be fine. How you get your own copy of Patlabor? Well, you can buy it like I did. That's all the encouragement I can give. There's two types of audio files. One is the original 25 FPS, and the other I stretched to 23 FPS with the audio pitch shifted. This should work with whatever video copy you have, but with it being stretched, you might hear a little corruption.
My ejector's busted. My ejector's busted.
So if you want to mess with the video yourself, there's the original 25 FPS for you. Also, remember to delay it, and I kept forgetting about that too. And yeah, that's pretty much it. If you have any questions, post them in the comments, and I'll do my best to answer them. Also, one more thing. Apparently the TV series English dub had the same problem, so on the Blu-ray they decided to remaster both Japanese and English separately, meaning there's literally 2 of the same episode on disc. If you want to change to sub and dub, you have to exit the episode. That's some determination. Not that I'm complaining, since that sounds like pretty hard work, but why couldn't they do the same with the movies? I know Blu-ray discs can hold more than just 2 movies, so why didn't they do it to the manga dub? I don't know, maybe there was some legal trouble with it. Oh well. Go watch some Patlabor.